nowadays, more or less, expect the dynamic page to actually update this when we push the button, no matter what happens in the background. Now again, what's the problem with these lines of code? They obviously do what we want. Well, the problem is not so apparent here. It works to program like this, and a lot of people have done a lot of code like this. But when you write a larger application, you simply cannot stay in the DOM like this. Where is this number stored? Well, for a short while we are running this routine here, it's stored in the variable count. But then this routine exits, and it's no longer stored there. It's only stored in one single place in this application, namely in the DOM. This is sort of the only 7 that survives between button presses. And that simply doesn't become maintainable after a while. We have a lot of things scattered across the DOM, and we cannot work like that, simply. So we need a model, and we need to make the separation between the model that sort of holds all the data, like this number 7, and the view that presents the data. And why is that separation so important? Well, it's important for evolving the application at all. Right, so 3 reasons to try Angular. The first reason is that in this race between the 7 different frameworks, Angular is clearly out on top right now. They're doing 2 things right at the same time. They're sponsored by Google and they're open source. Well, all of those frameworks are open source, and that really helps, or is, let's say, necessary in sort of the open source landscape that is the development landscape. So it needs to be open source to succeed in the first place. But that also needs sufficient backing from someone. It needs sufficient developers. It needs sort of good, stable documentation. It needs someone to upgrade it from version to version. And particularly a project like this, and I'm on a couple myself, I know that one of the hardest things to do is to get volunteers or to do all the case cleaning jobs, the boring jobs. But with this Google backing, you basically have that. You can sort of throw money into maintaining the documentation. So by involving Google, we ensure that Angular has a future in the first place. And if you look at Google Trends, I'm pretty sure they have if you search for different frameworks like this, compare Angular to the others, and you see Angular sort of taking off into the skies, and the others are sort of off to a good start, but not at all as impressive. On the other hand, if you do Google Trends with Angular compared to jQuery, I'm not going to show this, but you can try it at home later. Well, jQuery is sort of already miles above Angular. There's simply no comparison. Now, that could simply be because we are sort of earlier in the trend with Angular, but it's also because jQuery is so remarkably established yet. People already know that they should be using jQuery. They haven't decided yet with Angular. But yeah, among the 7 frameworks, well, 7-ish, Angular is currently leading this popularity contest. And then we have this very important reason. It comes in at the second place here. And we can talk a lot about and so on, and I'm going to show a bunch of examples with freedom from the DOM. Everyone agrees at this point that we need some kind of, well, not necessarily model view controller, but model view something. People sort of disagree about the third part here. And we just can't agree how to do this. And Angular comes out being both helpful at the same time as not sort of getting too much in your way for what you want to do. The most important part it does is it allows you to write your models. What do we mean by that? Well, basically you can write a small JavaScript application that works standalone without any involvement of HTML or the DOM or anything. You don't have to do any bindings at this point. You just write simple, easy JavaScript objects. So for a like button, for example, we would like an object with an increase method or a like method, something that increases this counter inside of it. And that's it. We can write those without even the browser, actually. We can write them offline, and they will still work. And then you plug them into Angular. And the fact that Angular allows you to do this, so write things separately like that, that's a great strength. Then it does another separation as well, and it's fairly alone in this actually. As you will see in some of the examples here, it allows you to do DOM manipulation in directives themselves. So the code for sort of being all messy with the DOM and so on, it's enclosed in these directives, and then you only use the directives in your HTML. So your HTML comes out as being very pure as well. Compare that to the jQuery that we had here. Here we had all the manipulation, and sort of again it mixes the application code and the DOM code. So let's look at an example of this. Let's look at ng-repeat. Right, AngularJS documentation for ng-repeat. And here as well I need to switch on. I'm a bit paranoid with JavaScript for switching on in browsers. We have ng-repeat, and we also have ng-click, which is a bit like the like button that we saw. So what does the like button implementation look like in Angular? Well, we have an ng-click directive here, which allows us to sort of go in and manipulate the model in any way we want. And the example, here we have it, it's basically a like button, and it works. And here's the source code behind that. First we declare the entire page as an ng application. We can do that for the sort of the top HTML node here, or we can do it further down if only a part of the page is an ngn. Suppose to have one and only one of these on the page. And this looks like sort of no attribute that you've ever seen before, because it's sort of specific to Angular. And then we have the logic itself, and no JavaScript inside here. We just do ng-click equals counted count+1. So where did all the DOM manipulation go? Where did all the sort of funky fetching from the count here and then incrementing and then putting back again go? Well, we only have the incrementing left here, and that's what we are left with when you start talking just in terms of the model. We also have to actually initialize the model. So the way this works is that somewhere in memory, and we don't have to care about it too much, we've initialized a variable or actually a property here called count. And Angular keeps it for us for as long as we need it. In this case we only need one. When we're in loops and things we might need several. And then we simply say, find this click event for when we want to click the button, just include this count. And we don't even have any update logic or anything like that. All the DOM manipulation is hidden inside of these characters. So that when we increase the button, when we click the button, it increases the count somewhere in memory. And it also realizes, hey, maybe I need to go and update the view somehow. Let's also look at ng repeat here. So sooner or later you're going to need a list of things, and the list will be dynamic, right? It's just like the other example we had here of adding things to lists. And here we have a smallish example. Again, we do the initialization here to have some list from the beginning. And then we simply have, you see this is a normal UL list here. And the repeat sits on the li, which means that in our HTML code we only declare one li, and then we say just repeat this one for a particular list. And then the important part here is that this works essentially like a for loop here. To say, for this friends variable here, we declare a variable friend that iterates through it, and we also filter it, we'll see that in the example, but that's less relevant. And then we can simply refer to friend inside here. It starts working with the template here, so we just go into different properties and talk about friend this, friend that, and it simply digs into this data structure sort of on the go, creating as many list items as needed. Let's see this in action, and let's also see the filter. So this data structure here, pure JavaScript, will get mirrored out as HTML, and all the bindings and everything that's taken care of for us. And just to show off here, they sort of tied it into a filter as well, so we can dynamically filter on things. If we want to find Mary quickly, for example, we type Mary here, and that's the only one that's, and it works in real time, so as we keep deleting things here, that was a bad example, R, things keep coming and going like that. And they even tied animations into it. And how does that work? Well, the animations are written for us. We just have to add a class here called animate repeat. If we remove this, the animations go away and it's simply static instead. Here you see a bit of the animation CSS as well. Animate repeat is this class here. And yeah, and they have a few transitions going on as well. So it's mostly no magic at all. Well, the CSS animations aren't anything new with Angular. The magic all happens in sort of doing these bindings, saying that, yeah, simply repeat this item here for all the elements in this array. And so you end up writing completely declarative HTML here. So all the bothersome details, all the logic that you have to write, they're sort of neatly tucked away into the directives instead. Any questions so far? We'll have a question on later that we can take on. Yeah.
In the game, for example, right. Instead of we're making a presentation, we get logic.
Yeah.
Instead of you're basically doing here, but instead of beginning of the presentation, filling it in the logic.
Well, in a way, yes. The really nice win that we've eliminated is these things here having to sort of worry about details of the DOM. So there are basically two data structures that are involved here. It's the structure of the data itself, which is really simple in this case because we're just holding sort of one scalar value. But then there's the structure of the DOM also. And imagine you go ahead and evolve this application, and a lot of things happen to it, and other developers grab a hold of it as well. Sooner or later, the structure of the DOM will evolve. And when it does, you're basically screwed because you don't know exactly what parts of your application rely on that part of the structure of the DOM being in a certain way. So you get a lot of sort of hidden dependencies between your application and the DOM structure. And that's basically what you get rid of in Angular, because all the time you declare your DOM structure up front, you put these ng repeats inside of the code, and you can sort of freely move around these and without sort of hurting the underlying model. And the underlying model here is completely separate, and if you change that one, well, you do have to go in and change all your ng repeats, but at least it's sort of very well separated, and you can see where you access things. Was that an answer to your question? Okay, good. And then finally, and this is perhaps one of the more exciting things and one of the things that sets AngularJS apart from the rest of the bunch, Angular is basically aiming towards the same place as HTML5 is aiming. So we have all these cool, nice technologies on the horizon, and AngularJS is taking them into account. Now, of course, there are no guarantees here because these things haven't happened yet. But as far as we can see, AngularJS is a good future investment because these things will happen in HTML5 anyway, and I'll talk a bit about those things. A very strange evolution has followed HTML in recent years. Basically, the people in charge of doing the specifications and everything like that, they wanted to build a big, nice semantic web, so they believed heavily in XML and XHTML and so on. And those streams were basically more and more coming to a halt. I wouldn't say that they're completely gone, but the semantic web has sort of had to leave the center stage for other things. What happens instead is that a bunch of companies said, oh, screw this, we don't want to be part of sort of this evolutionary part. We want to build applications in HTML. We want to build things like Gmail and Google Docs and Twitter and Facebook. How do we do that easily? And the answer for that from the specification guys, from the W3C, was basically, no, it's not an application language, it's a document language. It's supposed to build documents in HTML, not all these fancy dynamic things with things feeling like desktop applications. And the people actually in charge of writing such applications, they said, screw this, we'll just make our own standards. And they formed a group called essentially became HTML5 later, and we're now calling HTML5. Now, HTML5 has an enormously ambitious timeline. People sometimes mention the date 2020 or something like that. Well, some parts of HTML5 you can use already today, and my favorite page for showcasing that is htmlplease.com. Let's see if I have JavaScript turned on for this one. Yeah, I do. And here, sort of, in a really nice infographic way, you can find out whether your favorite technology is currently supported enough for you to dare to use it in browsers. I really like this one for its presentation abilities. I also use it for sort of making informed decisions when creating web applications. Apparently, we're supposed to avoid box reflection right now, and if we want to read more about that, there's more details here. Often there's links as well. And then sometimes we can use things, but we can use them with caution or with a sort of JavaScript library to fill in the missing details and so on. It's impressive, by the way, how often you can compensate for missing parts of HTML or missing parts of the CSS just with some JavaScript. Basically, that is the saving grace that allows us to pretend that things like Internet Explorer 6 are not there. Or 8 these days, yeah. Internet Explorer 8 is the new Internet Explorer 6. By the way, just as a side note, did you see the campaign that Microsoft has against Internet Explorer 6? i.e. 6 Countdown. We're almost done with Internet Explorer 6, by the way. Let's see. I think it's this one. Yeah, over 10 years ago a browser was born, and now we want to kill it. It's showing a world map, sort of how far along are we getting rid of Internet Explorer 6. The green countries here are the good ones. They're using very little of it. China is the big sort of bandit here in this gang. I think because of old installs of Microsoft Windows and things like that, people simply cannot upgrade. But we're down to, oh, this one says 100%. That sounds really good. But this one is still somewhere between 20 and 30%. Oh, that's horrible. When I last visited this page, it said, I think, 95% or something like that. So according to this one, we've basically reached our goal now. And yeah, that feels about right. People are less and less talking about IE6 and more about IE8.